Aaron stood at the edge of the jungle clearing and wiped the sweat from his face. The air was thick with heat, and the calls of unseen birds echoed through the trees. For weeks he and his team had been cutting through vines, climbing over stones, and searching for a sign of something hidden. Now he finally saw it. Before him stretched the outline of a ball court, ancient and mysterious, half buried under roots and soil. The court was larger than Aaron expected. Two long stone walls ran parallel, each sloping inward as if guiding something toward the center. Moss clung to the stones, and tree roots curled across them like giant fingers. Yet what caught his eye most were the golden lines running through the cracks. They shimmered faintly, even in the shade, as if the court itself was alive. Lena, his closest friend and fellow explorer, stepped beside him. She brushed dust from her hands and whispered, "It looks like the drawings in the old Mayan codices. But the gold, it should not still shine like this after so many centuries." Aaron nodded. He felt the same. Every site he had studied, every ruin he had walked through before, felt old and silent. This court did not feel silent at all. It gave him the sense that it was waiting. The team set up camp near the edge of the court. Some workers cleaned vines from the walls, while others measured stones and took photographs. Aaron stayed close to the golden lines, tracing them with his fingers. They were smooth, not like gold hammered into place, but as though grown out of the stone itself. The design formed a pattern, almost like circuits, though no one would dare use that word in a place so ancient. When evening came, most of the workers retreated to their tents. Aaron, however, stayed with a notebook in his hand. He wanted to capture the details of the carvings etched into the stone walls. The carvings showed figures playing the sacred ball game, their arms raised as they struck the heavy ball with hips and shoulders. But around them stood taller shapes, not human. These figures wore masks of long noses and bright crowns, their arms raised in command. The players knelt before them, as if in offering. The shadows of the jungle stretched across the court as the sun fell lower. A hush fell over the place, as though the jungle itself held its breath. Aaron lit a lantern and continued sketching. His pencil moved quickly, recording every detail he could. Then it happened. The golden inlays glowed brighter. At first he thought it was the lantern flame reflecting strangely. But no, the glow pulsed on its own, running like fire along the cracks of the court. The walls shivered with a low hum, and Aaron froze, his heart hammering in his chest. He looked around. No one else was there. The carvings along the wall lit up. The figures seemed to move, their stone arms shifting, their faces turning. A shimmer appeared above the court, like heat rising from sand. Shapes formed inside the shimmer. At first they looked like mist, but then they sharpened into figures, tall men with armor of jade and gold. They stood as lords, their eyes glowing faintly, their voices overlapping in a tongue Aaron could not understand. Aaron stumbled backward, nearly dropping his lantern. His breath came fast, yet he could not look away. These were not ghosts. They did not float or drift. They stood solid, as though alive, watching him. The figures raised their hands, and the golden lines across the court blazed with sudden light. An energy swept through the ground, shaking the stones. In the center of the court, a glowing sphere appeared. It spun slowly in the air, humming with power. The lords gestured toward it, as though commanding Aaron to step forward. He whispered to himself, "This is not possible. This is not of this world." The sphere floated closer, then stopped. The figures faded back into mist, but the sphere remained, hovering silently in the air. Aaron stood frozen. A deep instinct warned him not to touch it. Yet another part of him, the part that had spent his life chasing mysteries, urged him closer. He extended a trembling hand, only to pull back at the last second. The glow dimmed, then flared once more before vanishing into nothingness. The court fell silent again. The golden lines dulled, and the carvings returned to still stone. Aaron stood in the dark, the lantern flickering in his hand. His notebook lay open on the ground, his sketch only half finished. His pulse still raced, but his mind worked even faster. This was not only a ruin. This was a machine. A machine that had been waiting for centuries. When Lena returned a short while later, she found him sitting in silence near the center of the court. She frowned and asked, "Aaron, what happened? You look pale." He looked at her, unsure if she would believe him. The words caught in his throat, but at last he whispered, "This place is not just Mayan. Something else was here. And it is still here." The jungle around them stirred with the sound of night creatures, but inside the golden court, everything was still. Aaron felt it watching him, waiting for him to return and take the next step. The night was heavy with silence, yet Aaron could not sleep. His tent stood only a short distance from the ball court, but his thoughts refused to leave the golden lines he had seen glowing. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the tall armored figures and the strange sphere hanging in the air. The court had awakened when no one else was there. It had chosen to show itself to him. By morning he was restless. Lena noticed his tired eyes when they gathered for breakfast near the fire. She asked softly, "Did something happen last night?" Aaron hesitated. He knew what he had seen, but saying it aloud would make it sound impossible. Still, he trusted Lena more than anyone. The court lit up. The carvings moved. I saw men in gold and jade armor. They looked like lords, but not only human. And a sphere, it floated above the court. The workers nearby laughed at his words, thinking it was only a dream born of exhaustion. But Lena studied his face and did not laugh. She leaned closer and whispered, "I believe you. I felt the place was alive when we first entered. We need to go back tonight together." Aaron nodded. He was grateful she trusted him. The day passed slowly. Workers measured stones, recorded carvings, and cleaned the walls. Aaron walked the court again and again, studying the golden lines. In the sunlight they looked dull and ordinary, but he knew the truth hidden inside them. The carvings told stories, yet some parts were different from any Mayan design he had seen. Figures with long limbs and crowns shaped like stars stood beside the players. Above them was carved a circle of fire, as if the sky itself had been watching the game. As night approached, Aaron and Lena returned to the court alone. The others had gone to their tents. The jungle was alive with the sound of insects, but the court felt quiet, as if holding its breath again. Aaron lit a lantern and placed it on the stone floor. He whispered, "Last night it happened when I was sketching. Maybe it reacts to movement." Lena stepped forward and clapped her hands once, the sound echoing across the stone walls. For a moment nothing happened. Then the faint glow returned. The golden lines brightened, pulsing like veins filled with fire. The hum rose from the ground, soft at first, then deeper, like the heartbeat of a great beast. Aaron felt the vibration through his feet. He gripped Lena's arm as the carvings lit one by one, until the court blazed with golden light. Once again the air shimmered above the floor, and the lords appeared. They were clearer now. Their armor shone like polished stone, their headdresses shaped like feathers and suns. Their voices echoed, strange and layered. Aaron could not understand the words, but the sound carried weight, like commands given in a tongue older than any human empire. Then the ball appeared. A glowing sphere floated between them, spinning slowly. The glowing ball hung in the air between Aaron and Lena. It spun slowly, casting soft light on the stone walls of the court. The lords of gold and jade stood tall, their eyes fixed on the two humans. None of them spoke words that Aaron could understand, but their gestures were clear. They wanted a game to begin. Aaron exchanged a glance with Lena. Her eyes were wide with both fear and wonder. She whispered, "It is asking us to play." This is what the carvings were showing. The ball game. Aaron's heart pounded in his chest. He had studied the Mayan ball game in books and museums. It was played with a heavy rubber ball, and players struck it with hips, shoulders, or elbows, never their hands or feet. But this was no ordinary ball. It glowed with an inner fire and floated like it was alive. One of the lords struck the ball with his hip. It soared through the air with great speed, slamming against the sloping wall before bouncing back toward Aaron. Instinct took over. He turned his side and thrust his hip forward. The ball hit him hard, knocking the breath from his lungs, but it flew back across the court. The lords nodded as if satisfied. The game had begun. Lena moved to his side. She raised her arm and used her shoulder to redirect the ball when it came again. Sparks trailed from it as it spun across the air. The golden lines on the floor pulsed brighter each time the ball struck the stone, as if feeding on the energy of the game. Aaron felt the court itself alive beneath him. The walls seemed to breathe. The carvings glowed brighter, showing ancient players bending, leaping, and striking the ball. The air grew warmer, the hum louder. It was more than a game. It was a trial. As the play continued, the lords grew faster. Their movements were smooth, almost effortless. The ball flew like lightning, and Aaron and Lena struggled to keep up. Aaron stumbled once, nearly falling, but Lena lunged and saved the strike. They shared no words, but they worked together, learning quickly how to move in rhythm. After several rounds, the ball struck the wall near the golden ring carved high above the court. A sudden vision filled Aaron's mind. He saw men kneeling, their heads bowed, and flames rising behind them. His chest tightened. The vision faded as quickly as it came, leaving him shaken. Lena gasped. "I saw something too. It was like people giving offerings. The court is showing us what this game meant." Aaron wiped sweat from his forehead. He felt the weight of history pressing down on him. The Mayans had not played this game only for sport. It was part of a ritual, a test given by these lords. To lose meant something darker, perhaps sacrifice. To win promised something greater. The ball came again, spinning with heat. Aaron braced himself and struck it hard with his shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he did not stop. He and Lena moved together, hitting the ball back and forth against the lords. The golden lines glowed so brightly that the court shone like the sun. One of the lords raised his hand, and the game paused. The ball floated between them, humming with power. The tall figure stepped forward, pointing at Aaron and Lena. Its voice echoed in the strange tongue, but the meaning was clear even without translation. They were being judged. Aaron's throat went dry. He whispered to Lena, "This is not just a sport. It is deciding if we are worthy. If we fail, I do not know what will happen." Lena straightened her back, her face set with resolve. "Then we do not fail. We show them who we are." The lords formed a circle around the court. The ball rose higher, glowing brighter than before. The carvings on the wall showed not only players but treasures beneath the earth, golden shapes hidden under the court. Aaron realized what was at stake. This was not only about survival. It was about unlocking secrets buried for centuries, perhaps gifts left by beings from beyond the stars. The ball dropped again, and the trial resumed. Aaron and Lena moved with renewed strength, no longer playing only to defend themselves. They played to prove humanity's courage. Every strike, every leap, every breath carried the weight of both past and future. When the final echo of the ball struck the wall, the court went silent. The glowing lines dimmed, but not fully. The lords stood still, their eyes watching in silence. Aaron and Lena held their ground, breathing hard but standing tall. The challenge was not over, but something had changed. The court had accepted them as players. The ritual had only just begun. The court stood in silence after the last echo of the glowing ball faded. Aaron and Lena stood side by side, their breathing heavy, sweat dripping down their faces. The golden lines on the floor no longer blazed, but they still glimmered faintly, like embers refusing to die out. The lords of jade and gold armor stood still, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. Aaron felt the weight of their gaze pressing down on him. Then the air shimmered again. What had been only ghostly figures moments ago grew solid, their forms taking on weight and detail. The lords stepped forward, no longer projections of light but towering beings that looked as real as flesh and stone. Their armor clinked softly, and their steps echoed across the ancient court. Lena tightened her grip on Aaron's arm. "They are real," she whispered. "Not shadows, not illusions. Real." Aaron could hardly believe it. The height of the lords was greater than any human he had ever seen, their bodies built with strength yet graceful, their faces hidden behind masks shaped like jaguars and eagles. They carried staffs of gold that glowed faintly with the same energy as the court. One of them raised his staff, and a deep voice spoke. The words were not in any language Aaron knew, but somehow he felt their meaning. The voice asked a question. Why should humans be allowed to stand on this court? Why should they be given the right to claim what lies beneath? Aaron swallowed hard. He had no clear answer. He was just an archaeologist, a man who had followed clues into the jungle. What right did he have to stand here? He glanced at Lena, who was looking up at the lords with steady eyes. She gave him a small nod, as if telling him to speak. He stepped forward, his voice unsteady but clear. "We search for knowledge, not only treasure. We are not the same as those who came before. We want to learn, not to destroy." The lords tilted their heads, their glowing eyes studying him. Another voice rang out, deeper and sharper, asking another question. Could humanity endure trials without fear? Could they stand when faced with tests greater than themselves? Lena lifted her chin and answered before Aaron could. "Yes. We may be small, but we endure. We rise even when we are weak. That is what makes us strong." For a long moment there was silence. The jungle outside seemed to fade, and the only sound was the faint hum of the golden lines under their feet. Then the lords struck their staffs against the stone floor, and the court shook. The glowing ball reappeared, brighter than before. The lords formed a half circle, as if preparing for another game. But this time, the air around the court changed. Gravity shifted, and Aaron felt his body grow lighter. The ball floated higher, and the walls seemed taller. The court itself had changed, reshaping to make the trial harder. Aaron whispered to Lena, "This is the final test. They want to see if we can play even under their rules." The game began with a thunderous strike from one of the lords. The ball flew like a blazing comet, faster than before, bending the air as it moved. Aaron leapt to meet it, the strange lightness in his body giving him strength. He struck it with his hip, sending it back across the court. Lena ran beside him, her steps almost floating as she moved to catch the next strike. The lords played with skill beyond anything human. Their movements were precise, their timing perfect. Every hit carried power that shook the stone walls. Aaron and Lena stumbled more than once, yet they refused to fall. They pushed their bodies to the limit, driven by the thought that this was more than a game. This was judgment. The carvings on the wall glowed again, showing images of treasure buried deep below the court. Golden chambers filled with shining objects, crystal devices glowing with unknown light, maps of stars carved into stone. Aaron's heart raced as he realized the truth. This was not about gold or riches. This was knowledge, knowledge left by those who had once walked the stars. The ball came again, spinning like fire. Aaron braced himself, but the impact nearly knocked him down. Lena caught it and sent it flying, her face filled with determination. Together they fought on, each strike a message to the lords that they would not give up. Finally the lords halted the game. The ball hung in the air, glowing with fierce light. One of the tall beings stepped forward, lowering his staff. His mask tilted as if in respect. The voice that followed was clear in Aaron's mind. The trial is not finished. But you have stood where many have fallen. The court accepts you. The glowing ball vanished, and the court grew still once more. The lords began to fade, their bodies turning back into light. Yet their voices lingered in the air, promising that the true test was still to come. Aaron stood with Lena in the silent court. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. He looked at her and whispered, "We are closer now. Whatever is buried here, they will show us. But first we must prove ourselves once more." Lena nodded, her eyes fixed on the golden lines beneath their feet. "Then we will prove it. Not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity." The night pressed in around them, but the court glowed faintly, as if watching and waiting for the next ritual to begin. The jungle night was thick with sound, but inside the golden court there was only silence. Aaron and Lena stood in the center, still shaken from the game with the lords. Their bodies ached, yet their hearts beat with fire. The beings had spoken, though not in words they could fully understand. They had asked why humanity should be trusted with the secrets hidden below. Aaron knew the answer mattered more than any strike in the game. The golden lines beneath their feet began to glow again. Slowly the lords reappeared, their tall forms rising from light and shadow. They surrounded the two humans, staffs raised, masks gleaming like stone animals of power. Their voices echoed as one, layered and deep. The meaning pressed into Aaron's mind like a weight. Why should your kind receive what we guard? Aaron's throat felt dry, but he stepped forward. His voice trembled, yet he spoke with honesty. We are not perfect. We are small compared to you. But we learn. We build. We stand when storms strike us down. We do not stop. That is our strength. The lords were silent, their glowing eyes fixed on him. The silence pressed heavier than the jungle heat. Aaron feared they were not satisfied. Then Lena stepped forward, her voice steady. Others before us may have played for greed or fear. We do not. We came here searching for knowledge, not gold. If there is treasure here, let it be knowledge. We will carry it with care. The lords tilted their heads, the golden light flickering across their armor. For a moment Aaron felt hope. Then one of the lords struck the ground with his staff, and the court shook. The glowing ball rose again, brighter than before, spinning faster than any eye could follow. Aaron whispered, "They are not finished. They want proof, not words." The court began to change. The sloping walls stretched higher. The golden lines bent and shifted, forming new patterns across the floor. The very air grew heavy, and the pull of gravity twisted. Aaron felt lighter one moment, heavier the next, as if the court itself wanted to crush or lift him. The lords spread out, their movements sharp and graceful. The game had begun again, but this was no ordinary round. The ball shot forward like lightning, bending in strange arcs as if space itself curved around it. Aaron leapt, barely striking it with his hip. Pain jolted through his body, but he forced himself to stay upright. Lena caught the next strike, spinning her shoulder to send the ball flying high. The golden hoop carved into the wall glowed, and for the first time Aaron understood. This was not only about keeping the ball in play. It was about scoring, proving that humans could rise to the challenge of the court. The lords moved with perfect rhythm, their strikes sharp and precise. Aaron and Lena stumbled often, but they refused to give in. Sweat poured down their faces, their breaths ragged, yet they pushed forward. Every failure became a lesson. Every strike became stronger. At one point the ball curved high, beyond Aaron's reach. Lena leapt with all her strength, her body lifted by the strange gravity of the court. She struck the ball with her shoulder, sending it spinning down toward the hoop. It missed by only a. The ball spun through the air like a comet, glowing brighter with every strike. Aaron and Lena's bodies screamed with exhaustion, yet neither gave in. Each time the lords sent the ball flying, the two humans found a way to return it. Sweat ran down their faces, their lungs burned, but their spirit remained unbroken. The golden lines across the floor pulsed faster, beating like the rhythm of a heart. The court itself seemed alive, watching the contest with silent judgment. The carvings along the walls glowed brighter, showing visions of past games. Aaron saw images of ancient Mayan players falling to their knees, their heads bowed before the towering lords. Some received treasures, others only silence. He understood now. This was the last trial. Win, and humanity would earn the treasure of knowledge. Fail, and the court would close forever. The ball came fast, twisting in the air like it had a mind of its own. Aaron braced himself, but at the last moment he stumbled. His legs felt like stone, his body weak. The ball struck his shoulder hard, and he fell to one knee. Pain shot through him, and he gasped for air. Lena leapt forward, striking the ball before it could touch the ground. She sent it soaring across the court, her cry echoing through the stone walls. Aaron lifted his head and met her eyes. She was not afraid. She was stronger than he had ever seen her. He forced himself up, though every muscle protested. "I cannot fall," he whispered to himself. "Not now." The Lord struck the ball back with great power. It blazed with light, flying high toward the golden hoop carved into the wall. Aaron's vision blurred, but he ran. His body felt heavy, the shifting gravity pressing him down. He pushed against it, his will stronger than the weight. He leapt, striking the ball with his hip. The impact sent him crashing to the ground, but the ball changed course, flying back to Lena. She caught it with her shoulder and sent it soaring again. The hoop glowed brighter, as if calling them to finish the game. Aaron staggered to his feet, blood pounding in his ears. He knew what he had to do. The lords moved together, striking the ball with such speed it seemed like a streak of fire. Lena lunged, but she was too far. Aaron ran, his body screaming, and threw himself forward. He caught the ball with his chest, the force nearly knocking him flat. But he twisted at the last moment, sending it spinning toward Lena. She understood instantly. Aaron had given up his chance so she could finish. Lena leapt higher than before, lifted by the strange gravity of the court. Time seemed to slow as she turned her shoulder and struck the ball with all her strength. The ball soared through the air, trailing light. It curved, dipped, and then struck true. With a deep echo that shook the ground, it passed cleanly through the golden hoop. The court exploded with light. The golden lines flared like rivers of fire. The carvings on the walls shifted, showing images of stars, maps, and distant worlds. The lords stood still, their glowing eyes fixed on Aaron and Lena. Then, one by one, they bowed their masked heads. Aaron fell to his knees, gasping, but he felt no fear now. Only relief. Lena landed beside him, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. She touched his arm and whispered, "We did it." The lords raised their staffs in unison. A great rumble shook the court as the ground in the center split open. Dust rose as stones slid aside, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. The light from below was not golden but white, soft and pure, as though the earth itself held a hidden sky. The lords spoke again, their voices like thunder. Aaron could not understand the words fully, but the meaning came clear to his heart. The game was over. Humanity had passed. The treasure below was theirs to claim. Slowly, the lords began to fade, their tall forms dissolving into light. The court grew still, but the staircase remained open, glowing faintly in the dark. Aaron and Lena stood together, staring into the passage. Lena whispered, her voice trembling not with fear but with awe, "Whatever lies below has been waiting for centuries. Waiting for us." Aaron nodded. His body ached, but his spirit was strong. The final ritual was complete. The court had chosen them. Now the true secret of the Mayan lords was only steps away. Aaron and Lena stood before the glowing staircase, their breath heavy, their bodies weak but their hearts full of courage. The golden court behind them was silent, its light fading as though the game's purpose was complete. The tall lords had vanished like smoke in the wind, leaving only the path forward. The two explorers exchanged a look. Neither needed to speak. They had survived the trials, faced fear, and now they were chosen to see what lay hidden below. With steady steps, they began their descent into the earth. The stairs were carved from smooth stone, each step glowing faintly as if guiding them deeper. The air was cool, and a strange hum vibrated through the walls. It was not the sound of wind or water but something deeper, like the heartbeat of the world itself. After what felt like hours, the stairs opened into a vast chamber. Aaron gasped, and Lena's eyes widened. Before them stretched a hall larger than any temple, its ceiling so high it seemed to vanish into shadow. But it was not empty. Floating above the floor were spheres of light, hundreds of them, each one showing moving images. Stars, planets, galaxies, and strange machines unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls were covered in carvings that glowed white, their patterns shifting slowly like living stories. In the center of the chamber stood a massive stone table. Upon it rested golden discs, crystal rods, and books bound in strange dark covers. They were not written in one language but many, some ancient, some unknown. Aaron stepped closer, his hands trembling. "This is no treasure of gold," Lena whispered. "This is knowledge." Aaron nodded. He felt it in his heart. The Mayan lords had not built the ball court only for sport or sacrifice. It had been a gate, a test, a way to choose who was worthy to see the truth. Lena reached for one of the glowing books. The moment her hand touched it, the symbols across the cover shifted, changing into letters she could read. She gasped. It is alive. It wants us to understand. Aaron picked up a crystal rod, and light burst from its tip. A star map filled the air above them, showing not just Earth but distant suns and worlds connected by glowing lines. Aaron's mouth went dry. This is a map of the universe. The two explorers moved slowly around the table, touching the strange objects. Each one revealed secrets. One disc showed how the Mayan people had learned from visitors who came from the stars. Another revealed the cycle of time, patterns of suns and moons that stretched for thousands of years. Another showed machines, great ships that traveled through the void of space. Lena whispered, "This is what they guarded. Knowledge from beyond this world." Aaron felt a chill. He thought of the lords, their towering forms, their glowing eyes. They were not only priests or kings. They had been keepers of this gift, protectors of truth too powerful for those not ready. The game had been their measure of spirit, to see if humanity had the strength to carry such knowledge. As they explored, they found one last object resting at the end of the table. It was a mask of gold, shining brighter than the rest. Its surface was smooth, yet when Aaron lifted it, he saw his reflection change. His face glowed, not with his own features but with symbols of light. The mask pulsed as though alive. Lena touched his arm. That mask is not decoration. It is a key. When Aaron placed it back on the table, the chamber shifted. The spheres of light drew closer, circling him and Lena. They rose higher, forming a spiral, and then a great voice filled the hall. It was not the Lord's but something older, deeper. You have passed the trials. You have faced fear, endured the game, and proven your strength. What was hidden is now yours. Guard it well, for knowledge is greater than treasure, and truth is heavier than gold. The voice faded, and the chamber fell silent once more. The spheres returned to their places, though their light seemed softer now, calmer. Aaron and Lena stood still, their hearts pounding. They understood. They were now the keepers. Aaron finally spoke. We cannot take all of this with us. But we can carry the memory, the maps, the proof. Lena nodded. She picked up a single crystal rod, small enough to carry, glowing gently in her hands. This is enough to show the world. Enough to remind them that the past holds more than we know. Together they began the climb back up the long staircase. Their bodies still ached, but their spirits carried new strength. When they emerged into the ball court, dawn was breaking outside. The jungle was alive with the sound of birds and wind, as if the earth itself welcomed them back. Aaron looked at the fading carvings on the walls, now dim without the Lord's power. This place will sleep again until it is needed. Lena held the crystal rod close. But we are awake now. And the world will hear. As they stepped into the light of the new day, Aaron felt a strange peace. They had gone in search of treasure, but what they found was far greater. Knowledge that stretched across stars. Secrets that had waited centuries to be discovered. And a promise that humanity was not alone. The golden ball court stood silent behind them, its trials complete. The treasure was no longer buried. It was carried within their hearts, ready to guide the future.